Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're out in front of my greenhouse where I have my two custom-made Bradley sink gardens that we put in last year at the beginning of the summer tubbing season. Now the top one is a succulent garden that's still pretty dormant. You see the daytime temperatures here are getting up in the 50s and sometimes even the 60s, but the overnights are still hovering around freezing. This means it'll be a few more weeks before we see much activity from those succulents. However, it means it's time to uncover the bog garden. I determined this by looking at the projected weather forecast. Now, it is supposed to be up to the 50s or 60s every day for the rest of the month, though the overnights still will get close to freezing. Because it's doubtful that there will be another hard freeze, I'm going to go ahead and uncover it and keep an eye on the forecast. And if I see anything that makes me worry it's going to be a really profound freeze, I'll cover it back up for that night. But for the most part, with my carnivorous plants that are in this bog garden, they do just fine with the cooler temperatures. It's just a matter of them not getting too cold too fast. So last winter, or this winter, earlier in the winter, I covered it up with some burlap and some pine straw in order to insulate my plants to make sure that they didn't get too cold too fast and to just allow them to have the hibernation period, if you will, that they need. So let's go ahead and pull off this stuff and take a look and see how things fared. So one of the biggest concerns with doing an outdoor garden like this is actually that critters can get into it. Things like voles, moles, squirrels, or even my chickens, in all honesty. So covering it up like this really helps prevent against that, as well as having it off the ground. Again, this is just pine straw that I purchased. We got a lot of snow this year, so the snow was a really great insulator, and I'm really hopeful that things look pretty good underneath all of this. But I'm going to start by pulling off this pine litter. I do save it to reuse from year to year. I'll just make sure it's nice and dry before I put it away so it doesn't mold, and it's really very, very simple. Now, the reason I put the burlap underneath it is just to make sure, or to make it easier to remove this pine litter. You see, the pine litter is pretty darn messy, but it's super cheap and really efficient at insulating my garden. And this is the second year that I've used this particular pine litter. Now, I may end up discarding it this year, I'm not entirely sure. It also locks in some of that humidity for the plants. You could also use something like winter cloth, which I've done on my other plant, but for this was the easiest. And again, this just allows me to lift off all the litter so that it doesn't get all in the garden. You can see right away, the plants are there. The live sphagnum's still alive. There's quite a lot of traps. Most stuff is dormant, but let's take a closer look here. So we can see that my live sphagnum moss did really well. My fly traps have gone largely dormant. All those black traps I'll just remove here. A lot of the sarracenias have good live growth. There's a lot of trimming that needs to be done. I didn't actually trim them back before winter. I wasn't sure how they would do outside, so I decided to just wait and see. There's a bunch of sundews. Oh, look, here's a little baby volunteer fly trap that wasn't there last year. That's kind of cool. The sundews are all still pretty dormant, and I would expect them to start coming back here as things get more and more mild. There's all this like bog grass stuff in here that I want to try and pull out, but I'm gonna just wait and do that throughout the season. And then you can see like a lot of these plants look pretty darn good. And they'll start to stand up again now that they're uncovered. And so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of these updates. The bog is nice and wet from all the snow we've had. I need to go through and pull out a bunch of the leaves and really just keep an eye on things and make sure it doesn't get too cold in the next couple weeks. But I want them to get the benefit of the sun and the rain that we'll be having in order to get the most growth possible this spring. Up next, we'll be moving all of these hardscape materials. I think I'm going to create some sort of platform out here in a shaded area of the yard that's doesn't grow much grass, and just move them out there for the summer. And then we'll go through and set up all these tubs. And this year I'm going to do them all along the bottom of the greenhouse, since that's where I had the best success, as well as setting up more in my yard. You can see that some of the plants I didn't throw away are already starting to come back. Let's peek in on the ones that I did deliberately overwinter. You can see that those that they're starting to come back already. Now there'll be quite a bit of work to get these plants back into shape for the growing season, but you can see already all those irises are coming back really nice, as well as a bunch of the other stuff. There's some corkscrew rush over there. There's a few that didn't do too well, but that's not surprising. Some of the more tropical stuff that I used really just wouldn't overwinter well, but you can see the bloody duck is coming back really nice in both of those. So, you know, we'll have a bunch of stuff to work with right off the bat out here, which is fantastic. And I'll probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks really get things going out here in the greenhouse. So stay tuned for that. Got quite a lot of work to do before I can even get started. Oh, and these are my lilies. You can see they're starting to get new growth as well already. Little leaves coming up. So it looks like we're going to have a good quantity of plants to be able to reuse for this summer tubbing season. Just a reminder, I do use captured rainwater in order to water my bog garden. And this monster thing here has captured rainwater, as does this tub here. And this is what I've been using most of the winter to water my windowsill carnivorous plants, which again, I'll be moving outside here shortly as well. All in all, I'm pretty stoked at how this overwintering went, and I can't wait to get started on this summer tubbing season.